Hello. Welcome to Ezana Tube. I'm the host, Ezana. Today is January 29, 2022. ሰላም ከሜተጋሩ አካም ኦሮሚያ ዛሬ ጥር 21 2014 ነው በግዕዝ አቆጣጠር። እንኳን ደህና መጣችሁ እያልኩኝ አጠር ያለ ዜናዎች ይዤላችሁ መጥቻለሁ። እንድትከታተሉኝ በክብር ጋብዛችኋለሁ ማለት ነው። Okay, here are the news. Today, Abiy Ahmed, the Prime Minister of Ethiopia, went to UAE, United Arab Emirates. We know why he went to UAE, probably to beg for money and weapons, because yesterday the Prosperity Party had a meeting that they decided to continue the war. So probably he went there to buy and borrow and beg money and weapons. And also that the Prosperity Party are really concerned that the Fano militia is getting bigger and out of control. And so the Prosperity Party government are concerned that they might going to lose their power, and so they asked the Fano militia to disarm, and but according to the leader of the Fano, gave a statement that they will never put their arm down and they're going to fight. So because of that, yesterday on Friday, the Fano and ENDF soldiers had quite a exchange of weapon fired, and at least both sides, over 30 soldiers died and about 25 wounded by near North Gondar. And even yesterday in Bahar Dar, there were like some kind of gun eruption all over the city, and probably there will be the Fanos as well. Also, the people of Amhara and beyond, that they're concerned that this Fano group, they come in robbing them and raping, and they do all kind of atrocities. So this is the other news I have for you. And when I go to in front line in Afar, that we know the TDF control some towns last few days, and they pull back, and then the Afar militia and Afar special force with the ally of the Shabia, the Eritrean soldiers, are following right behind them, and then the TDF came back. Now they are cleaning in Afar region. This the group of Aulu Arba and Red Sea, the Shabia military force. So they are cleaning them, and as we speak that the TDF control Berhale and other town as well, including where the salt and gold factories that in the town of Kunaba. And so the TDF is not to control Afar, but they just want to clean those forces, and they're not threat to the Tigray again. So and they are doing that. And that's the other news I have. And there's also heavy fighting in western Tigray by Welkait, and also the border with Eritrea by Shiraro and the Lambasa, especially by Shiraro. There was like heavy fighting. Lot of heavy weapons used, both sides. The damage hasn't revealed yet, but the Eritrean got heavy casualties, and that's the other news I have. And another news that the Somalian and the Ethiopian relationship is getting fade away because Ethiopians are getting close to the Somaliland government. So the Mogadishu government for Majo is not happy with that, and that's getting the relationship getting sour. And the other news I have, the drones attack continues all over in Oromia region, and the past few days in Afar, Tigray, and Amhara region as well. Abiy Ahmed continuously bombarding, especially now in Oromia region. A lot of civilians are getting killed and injured, and a lot of people getting displaced and all kind of that. That's the from Oromia region I found. And at the end, that the Ethiopian government budget about 120 billion birr, 90 billion birr gonna go to defense, and very small amount to other sector. So that shows that the Ethiopian government are fully preparing to go to war and invade Tigray again. And this is what I have for you today. And thanks for watching. ሰላም እንዴት ናችሁ? ዛሬ አጠር ያለ ዜናዎች ይዤላችሁ መጥቻለሁ። ብጀምረው አብይ አህመድ ዩናይትድ አረብ ኤሚሬት እንደሄደ የሄደበትን ምክንያት እናውቃለን። ያው ለመለመን ገንዘብ ለመለመን መሳሪያ እና ብድርም ለመጠየቅ ይሆናል ፕሮባብሊ። አንዱ እሱ ነው። ትናንትና ስብሰባ ነበራቸው ብልጽግና እና የወሰኑት ጦርነቱ እንደሚቀጥል ነው የወሰኑት። ሁለት ምላስ ይዞ በዚህ ሰላም በዚህ ጦርነት እያሉ ነው እና እሱ ነው። በሌላ በኩል ወደ ግንባር ደግሞ ሲሄድ በአፋር በኩል የትግራይ ፎርስ ብዙ ከተማዎችን ተቆጣጥሮ ለቆ ወደ ኋላ መሄድ ጀምሮ ነበር። ግን የአውሎ አርባና የሻዕቢያ የኤሪትሪያን ቀይ ባህር ወታደሮች ከኋላቸው እንደገና ተከትለው ጦርነት ስለከፈቱ አሁን የትግራይ ዲፌንስ ፎርስ ተመልሶ ብዙ አፋር ቦታ እያጠቃ ይገኛል፣ እየተቆጣጠረም ይገኛል። ከዚህ አንዱ በርሃሌንም እንደተቆጣጠረ ነው የደረሰኝ ዜና የሚያመላክተው። ጨውና ወርቅ የሚወጣበትም ከተማዎች በትግራይ ዲፌንስ ፎርስ እንደተያዘ ነው የደረሰኝ ዜና የሚያመላክተው። በኩናባ የምትባል ወረዳ ላይ እና በምዕራብ ትግራይ ጦርነቱ በከባዱ እንደቀጠለ ነው። በስፔሻሊ በወልቃይት በኩል በኤርትራ በኩል ደግሞ በሽራሮ በኩል ከባድ ውጊያ እየተካሄደ ነው ይገኛል። በጣም በከባዱ የኤርትራን ኪሳራ እንደደረሰባቸው ከግንባር የደረሰኝ ዜና ያመላክታል ማለት ነው። በዘላንበሳም በኩል መተንከፍ ጀምሯል የሻዕቢያ ወታደር እና ሌላው የፋኖ እያደገ እና እየተደራጀ ስለመጣ የአብይ መንግስት ስጋት ስለሆነበት መሳሪያቸውን እንዲፈቱ ጠይቀው ነበር። ግን ፋኖ መሪያቸውም እንደተናገረው ከሆነ ማንም አያስፈታንም ብሏል እና በዚህ ምክንያት አማራ ክልል ላይ ፋኖና የአብይ ወታደሮች በተጋጩበት በትናንት ዓርብ ዕለት ከ30 በላይ በሁለቱም ሳይድ ሲሞት ወደ 25 ወታደሮች እንደቆሰሉ የደረሰ ዜና ያመላክታል ማለት ነው። በሌላ በኩል ኦሮሚያ ላይ በድሮን አሁንም እየደበደበ ይገኛል አብይ አህመድ በከባዱ አሁን ላስት ባለፉት ጥቂት ቀናቶች አፋር ላይም ትግራይ ላይም አማራ ክልል ላይም የመደብደቡን ቀጥሎበታል። በሌላ በኩል ስንሄድ ደግሞ የኢትዮጵያ ባጀት 120 ቢሊዮን ብር የወጣው 90 ቢሊዮን ብር ወደ ጦር እንደሚሄድ ባጀቱ ሌላው ነው ሌላ ቦታዎች ላይ የሚሄደው 90 ቢሊዮኑ ብሩ ወደ መከላከያ ነው ባጀቱ የሚሄደው ማለት ነው። እና ለዛሬ ይዤላችሁ አጠራጣሪ ዜናዎች ይህንን ይመስል ነበር። ስለተከታተላችሁኝ በጣም አመሰግናለሁ። ከመይ ተጋሩ ሎሚ ህጽጽር ዝበለት ዜናታት ይዤልኩም መጽለኩ አብይ አህመድ አሊ አብ ዩናይትድ አረብ ኤሚሬት ከሄዱሎ ያው ክልምን አጽዋር ገድግ ወይንም ለቃኻትዩ ዝከደሉ ምክንያት እንፈልጥና በካሊ ድማ ትማሊ አኬባ ነርዎም ናይ ብልጽግና እና ትኩይናት ክቅጽል ከም ዝኮነ ካቡ ዝበጻሐን ጸብጻብ ያመላክት በካሊ በግንባር ድማ ከሄድ ከለኩ አባፋር እጂውን ጀግና መከላከያ ሰራዊት ትግራይ ናጥቀይ ይርከብ በርሃሌን ተቆጻጽሮም ወርቅ ውንጨውን ዘውጻሉ ከወረዳውና ከምዝ ተቆጻጸሩ ካቡ ዝበጻን ጸብጻብ ያመላክት ኩናባት ባህል ወረዳ ማለት እዩ ምዕራብ ትግራይ ወን በወልቃይቱን ገለ ኩሉ ውግእሎ ካሊ ብሽራሮ ምስ ኤርትራ ዝነበረ ጂውን ቅጽል ዘሎ ኩይናት እዩ በከቢዱን ናይ ሻቢያ ጦር ኪሳራ ከም ዝበጽሐን ጸብጻብ ካቡ ያመላክት ማለት እዩ በዘላም በሳውን ይፍትናሉ በካሊ ናይ ፋኖ ናይ ብልጽግናን ፋኖ መሳሪያው ከእጥቁ ከፈትህሎ ዝበሃል ፋኖ አይንፈትህን ኢሎም አለው ተማሪ አማራ ክልል ፋኖን ናይ አብይን ጎንጺ ነሩ ገለ 30 ወታደራ ዝኮኑ በክልጥዮም ሳይድ ሞይቱ 25 ቆሲሉ ካባቶ እና አቡ ጂ ሽግር አለው ናይ ፋኖ ኮማንደር ዝበሃል ዝሃቦ ማንም ጥጥቅና ያፍተህናን ይሉሉ እና በካሊ ድማ ናይ ኢትዮጵያ መንግስት ባጀት 120 ቢሊዮን ብር ዝሆነ ባጀት 9 ቢሊዮን ንመከላከያ ከም ዝውዕል ካሊ ድማ በካሊ ቦታ ማለት እዩ እና 9 ቢሊዮን ብር ኩይናት እዩ ዝከይድ ማለት እዩ እና እንታይ ዘርኤና እዚ ኩይናት ተጣያብልን ማለት እዩ ክቅጽል እዩ እና ኩልና ወን ጃጋጣሚ ስራህና አይነረሰ እና ለድሮሚ ሂዘልኩም ዝመጻኩ ንዚ መስል ነሩ ስለተከታተልኩምኒ በጣም ዘመስግን በካል ቪዲዮስ ከምንራከብ ትግራይ ተዋል
Your open letter to the Ethiopian people says you have great concern and sensitivity for the future of the country and the people. But let's start from the beginning. 4 months ago, you resigned from the government of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. Why did you do that?
Well, I saw Ethiopian system of governance is not reformable within. So I had to step out and I had to speak out, even though I was speaking. And I've been very vocal from the beginning, but I had to do it from outside the government.
Why do you say it was not reformable? That is a very strong statement.
Well, we had all the promises and the hopes. We had a young African rising prime minister with the hope of bringing new beginnings, and all those hopes were dashed.
You were the first federal official, a senior government official, to say conclusively that rape was used as a weapon of war in the Tigray conflict. But that was in a tweet. It didn't come in an official government report. There was no press release. Why did you do this in almost like in a personal capacity?
I think I've explained a little bit on my Washington interview the reasons behind why I had to do it on my personal Twitter, which was all the pressures coming from the government and the PP or the Prosperity Party to put the lead on or to cover up. So I had to use any means that I can come out and speak to the Ethiopian people as well as other stakeholders.
Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed went to the front lines to lead the fight against the Tigray People's Liberation Front. You say in your open letter to the Ethiopian people that this is a man who has a Nobel Peace Prize in one hand and a gun in the other. As somebody who was in his government, what do you make of his handling of the situation?
He's obviously mishandled this whole situation in the country. And we were not expecting to be in this situation to begin with. So we have a prime minister who's holding a Nobel Peace Prize and a gun in the other, and the population is so polarized and divided. And the division among groups is beyond with deep-rooted issues. So on top of that, like I've said, we have a man who was supposed to lead the country out of all the problems that we had. Yet we regressed back and we are in this situation. And there's no way, I don't believe the Prime Minister has the capacity to bring the people out of this. And of course, I would repeat saying that we are a free fall of a one-man hubris and a one-man bravado and narcissism that has brought and led us to this mess.
I have covered Ethiopia extensively. This is a very divisive subject. There are people who will call you a liar for even speaking out. So why are you doing this?
Well, I'm someone who was in the government. I'm someone who's been very vocal from the beginning. I spoke when the war broke at first, 3rd of November. I wrote and I put statements out there saying for everyone there has to be the civilians has to be the utmost prioritization of this conflict. We have to make sure women, children, and the infirm are protected in this conflict. So we have to speak regardless of what people are going to call us or shame us or name us for. We have to speak when we see injustice. And that is what I'm trying to do.
The United Nations Human Rights Commission, lots of other independent bodies have put out reports that say all sides have committed atrocities in this conflict, that people have been misused in this conflict. Do you think things have changed since you left government?
No, I don't think much has changed. Yes, we see the prisoners are coming out. We see the country's trying to lift its emergency state, but there's so much humanitarian crisis unfolding. We've got the drought, we've got the looming famine, we've got the siege of a whole region more than a year, and we have a generation of young people traumatized, raped, women raped. So no, I don't.
The African Union, the UN, the US, lots of other international partners are trying to mediate between the TPLF and the Ethiopian government. What do you want the international community to know about the situation in Ethiopia?
Abiy cannot be the referee and the player at the same time on the field. They need to understand there has to be a sequence prior to the negotiations that he proposed. There has to be a ceasefire prior to all of this, a cessation of hostility. There has to be a way forward to putting immediate humanitarian actions in place for regions that are at most risk of facing famine, facing medical issues. So I believe the international has a task to play, a role to play in this. And I know that many countries and international have been putting forward pressures, but they need to push more and they need to find a way for the country to heal. It's a time for the country where we need to move to a position of healing. And I don't think the Prime Minister is ready to do that. I don't think the Prime Minister is the right person to do that. Yes, though, I believe the Prime Minister should compromise. As the head of the nation, as the Prime Minister of the country, he should compromise. He should put the people at first, and he needs to act accordingly. He needs to come to his sense.
The situation looks bleak in Ethiopia. What do you think in your mind is the future? What is the way forward out of this conflict that has been raging for 15 months?
I want to send a message to the African Union, who's been irrelevant in this conflict. I believe the African summit is taking place in February. I hope when African countries come together that they will put forward a pressure as countries to say there needs to be a cessation of hostility, there has to be a ceasefire, and that their summit can put some pressure in the government as well as other active agents in this conflict.
Filson Ahmed Abdullahi, thank you for talking to us here on CNN.
Thank you, Larry.